Urban View, where we have 24 hours, 24/7 of amazing content, and Reecie Colbert contributes to it. My girl, Reecie Colbert. Reecie, what's up?
Hey, New York Times bestseller, how you doing?
I'm doing good, doing good. All right, so we have tons of calls here, but I want to get to this other topic as well. Marvin Sapp. Marvin Sapp, iconic pastor, and he's done some incredible songs, and he has a great following. This is one of those stories that I wanted to hold off on talking about it until we had full
Mm-hmm.
context. That's
Mm-hmm.
one of the rules that I do. I don't like to always jump on something until we have full context. So he has gone viral for this a clip of him telling his churchgoers basically don't go anywhere, close the doors because they want to raise $40,000. All right.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube right now, y'all. YouTube.com/Clay Kane Show, YouTube.com/Clay Kane Show. And make sure you follow Reecie Colbert on YouTube as well, Black Women Views, right? All right. So, and he's responded to this on the Ricky Smiley Morning Show. But first, let's play the first clip, Stephanie, of Marvin Sapp telling people. Do we have that clip? I'm afraid we don't have it now. The first clip of Marvin. Oh, geez. I thought we had the other one. Okay. Hold on one second. We're just going to have to. We're going to have to work this out because I got to play this in context. Let's go to a call and then we'll get the first clip. Hold on one second. All right. Let's go over to, where are we? Let's go to Mark from Houston, first time caller. What's up, Mark? Oh, gosh. All these technical difficulties. Sorry about this, y'all. It's live radio. Let's go. Where are we at here? Okay, let's go to Tamiko from North Carolina. What's up, Tamiko?
Hi, Clay. Hi, Reecie. How are you?
Hey, what's
Hi.
up? Doing good, doing good.
Um, I had 2 points I wanted to make. My first point is, why are we letting that Jennifer O'Malley chick off the hook that was heading up VP Harris's campaign? It was either the
Mm,
Washington Post or the New York Times, and the reporters were on MSNBC, and she was low-key sabotaging the campaign.
mm,
And I don't think we give that enough of a focus because they had insight into the campaign. She did not like VP Harris. And when they designated VP Harris as the candidate for the Democratic side, they pretty much just moved the campaign apparatus from President Biden to VP Harris, and all those people were not in her corner. So I'm sure
mm.
that had an impact as well. And I'm not letting her off the hook. So anytime I have an opportunity to tell people about it, like, hey, this was a story. It didn't get as much coverage as I thought it should have, but it was a story.
Yeah,
Second
that's a
point I
very good
wanted to
point.
make,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, second point I wanted to make was the brother that you interviewed who said he wrote in his name.
Yes.
Now, I heard him, and let me tell you what really upset me the most about him. I am a graduate of North Carolina A&T State University, and I
Yes.
believe he said he was a graduate,
Yes.
and ain't no way in hell he graduated from my school where we had the people to sit at the lunch counter to integrate Woolworth, where we had Ronald E. McNair, who graduated from our school, and Reverend Jesse Jackson, and he said he wrote his name in the ballot. Like,
Mm.
you graduated from an HBCU with all that legacy, that rich heritage, and that's what you did? That's what pissed me off the most. I just had to put that out there. I hope you guys have a great rest of the afternoon, and thank you for
You
taking my
too. You
call.
too. You too. Thank you so much. Wait a minute. Something is going on. Oh, okay. Sorry, y'all. We're officially live on YouTube now. Sorry about that. Okay, we're here. We're here. We're here. All right. Okay. Live on YouTube, youtube.com/Clay Kane Show. No, good points. Thank you for that. All right. So let's play the clip of, again, like I said, Marvin Sapp has gotten into some controversy, but he's spoken out. Let's play the clip that originally went viral of Marvin Sapp telling folks to close the doors and asking for $40,000. Listen to this.
And they understand the cost that is involved. There's 1,000 of you. I said close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. It's 1,000 that's watching online. This is a small seed. If I get 1,000 online to give this, if I get 1,000 in the sanctuary to give this, that's $40,000 tonight. Now, everyone up here, we've all sold and seeded, but I need everyone standing up here with us, with me, to plant a seed of $100. Because again, it costs to sit up here. And this is what I need you to do. If you're giving electronically, or even if you're giving tangibly, I'm gonna have y'all come to the altar and give it, because I need to see 1,000 people moving. Bring them baskets. I want the baskets up here. I want to see the folk. Y'all start moving. Y'all can bring it right now. Come. 1,000 people need to give $20. 1,000 people need to give $20. 1,000 people online need to give $20. This is easy, saints.
He said, let's make it rain, saints. Let's make it rain.
Where them dollars at?
Okay. So I want to give a little bit of context, though. A little bit of context. This happened back in August. And this wasn't at his church. It was at a national conference.
Okay.
So he wasn't raising the money for his church specifically.
Mm-hmm,
It was for this national conference. Just want to give a little bit of context.
That's good context.
To be fair.
Yes.
To be fair.
Mm-hmm,
all right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he sat down on the Ricky Smiley morning show, Marvin Sapp, and talked a bit more. Now, it was a long, I'm not going to play the entire clip of it, but there's a one part I want you to hear as he's discussing this $40,000. Play the last clip I sent you, Stephanie.
My membership had dwindled after my wife had passed because I had to travel more in order to take care of me and my kids. Right. So, my membership, it dwindled, but we never lost anything. And as a matter of fact, this is factual. The day I announced the new pastor, I burned the mortgage of the church. When I left Grand Rapids, I left my church not only debt free, but I left them with 6 figures in the bank and put a brand new pastor in and walked away and moved to Texas. I'm not walking around here trying to be a pimp. I'm not trying to take advantage of people. That's never been my passion. I'm serious about ministry. And let me go one step further. There's a whole lot of other pastors around here.
Okay, take it down. Forgive me for the music in the background. Sorry.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
I don't know why they put that in the background. Yeah. Forgive me. So play a little bit of the other clip as well, Stephanie. Oh, it's okay. All right. So, basically he's saying that he understands some of the backlash that he's getting. He didn't say lock the doors. He said close the doors. And sadly, he's been getting too much backlash. And, people have been calling his church and all that kind of stuff is ridiculous. So I want to know what y'all think about this. 866-801-8255, 866-801-8255. But Reecie, I think this is a larger conversation outside of Marvin Sapp.
Okay.
There has been a history of preachers, of faith leaders, not saying him, but of big time faith leaders taking advantage of people. And at one point, Marvin Sapp said, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said something like, I don't need $40,000, I have it. He said something like that, right? So there is a conversation about these big time pastors asking for money. And I know that's a part of church culture. I've been to church 1,000 times and donations and you pass the plate around. But at some point, again, not saying Marvin Sapp, for some people, it becomes frustrating. And it feels like exploitation. Because oftentimes the people who are part of your congregation, they're just working class. They're trying to get by. They're tithing. And we've seen a lot of people tapping out of the church. There's all this prosperity gospel. So I think it's fair that he's frustrated and taking that one little clip. But there is some talk to be had about these big time pastors making so much money and profiting, and a pressure for you to donate, a pressure for you to raise this much money. And let's be honest. A lot of us have been to these churches. We hear this, and It's for the roof fund. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah,
sometimes
that's
wonder,
true.
where does this money go? And I don't know if this conference raised them. I don't know how it's going to be distributed. But the backlash wasn't about Marvin Sapp. It was about church culture in general, and how there are some people who feel like the church has lost touch with people in their communities. And we've had some great faith leaders on this show who do
Yeah.
amazing work, and they're not famous, and they're
Yeah.
not big gospel superstars. You know, they don't get the. I've had pastors on this show say, "Hey, we're doing work every single day, and we are not, we are not as big as others, and we're
Yeah.
trying to do this work."
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
maybe there is a conversation that needs to be had around donations. What does that look like? I mean, I was at one church one time, and they had like it was a telethon. They had the numbers. Okay, we're at 10,000,
Oh
15,000,
wow. Yeah.
20,000, like just digitally, just boom,
Mhm.
boom, 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 boom.
Mhm.
For some people, that's going to make you want to ask questions. So I think Marvin Sapp got the heat uh, in a larger context of what church feels like for some people. I mean,
Yeah.
I know so many church hurt, 'cause a lot of us have church hurt.
Yeah.
I know so
Mhm.
many church hurt
Mhm.
stories of like, yo, I gave all this money to so and so, then when I needed something, they weren't there. That obviously isn't a good church. And I'm not saying Marvin Sapp could have an amazing church, and I'm it's sad to hear that he's obviously a single dad, and he's widowed and everything. But this
Mm.
is a conversation that needs to be had about these big time pastors. And just because you're a big time pastor don't mean you can't do good things. Not saying that at
Yeah.
all.
Mhm.
But there is an anger that people have, especially, although this happened in August, in this economy, folks are losing their job. It was a perfect storm, sadly, for him to get that kind of backlash, you know? So I understand why he got that kind of heat. And, he even admits in the Ricky Smiley interview that he understands his tone might have been a little bit, off,
Yeah.
might have felt, he gets why people may have reacted that way. But there's some serious church hurt around money, tithing, and prosperity gospel. Real talk.
Mhm.
What do you think, Reecie?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very layered conversation. I think a lot is being put on a clip that is, like
Yeah.
you said, it's
Yep.
taken out of the context of the time that it was in. It was in August. It was taken out of the context of it being a conference. It was taken out of the context of what would have probably, I'm sure, been a whole day of programming. And so there's a part of me that is always going to feel it's at least a little bit unfair for a conversation to be had on a clip. And I think there's a part of me that's always going to think it's a little unfair for people to react as though they were in the same shoes as people who had a very much different experience. Now, I do honor people and I hold space for people who find that kind of language triggering. The idea of closing the door. If you interpret closing the door as something that is aggressive, something that makes you feel trapped, I can hold space for that position and how that might invoke that feeling for you. And I'm not going to say that anybody is wrong for having that response. I don't know if people necessarily would have had that response in that moment because that moment is part of a larger context of an entire day. But even if that were the case in that moment, people felt uncomfortable, that's justifiable as well. So I can hold space for the fact that the language was maybe aggressive, particularly around closing the door. Maybe if that part wasn't in there, it would be a different story. But I also grew up in the Black church, so for me, it don't really register as anything out of the ordinary to me for a Black preacher to hit you up for some money. Like that's part of the church experience. You have tithe, you have offerings, sometimes you have multiple offerings. And usually you're gonna hear a whole spiel behind it. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like a silent auction and shit when you walk around and you just bid on it and nobody say nothing. It's very gonna be much in your face. That never took away from the experience for me. Now, I won't say as in terms of overall church. Some churches are more aggressive than others. I also have attended mega church. When I was in LA, I used to go to Faithful Central and I loved Faithful Central. Love, love, love it. Um, So I get that there's church hurt. I can't diminish that. I can't dismiss that. I get that people felt uncomfortable and didn't like what he said. But as far as the money piece of it, I think that we always assume the worst whenever we talk about money. And that's not a church thing. That's a black thing. Anytime a black organization is trying to hit anybody up for some money, people want audits, invoices, receipts, all kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? There is, I think, a lot more distrust when it comes to black institutions, black people hitting you up for money, that people don't necessarily have. I'm not saying black people, but I'm saying people generally don't have that same skepticism towards other, institutions when they're not black led. I think in the church, people who go to church tend to not have that skepticism, but people who aren't a part of these congregations, people who do have, like you said, that church hurt and are feel disillusioned with church, that is part of it. So I think we can recognize multiple points of view. But I think that what hasn't really been recognized as much is the people that is like, this is what happened at a black church. What's the big deal? So that's how I said, I'm not dying on the hill and planting a flag on any particular thing. I see every side of it.
But I think when it intersects with faith, I just think it makes it so much more what did Christ say? Watch out. Be on, what is it? Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. I always say religion is a business.
Yeah.
The Vatican has more money than Pepsi, right? And how do we have all these millionaire people if there's folks in their congregation who are hungry? I mean, the prophet of Christ, the prophet of Jesus, the prophet of all these things. Then when we get into, let's not even forget white evangelicalism, even beyond the black church. There's something very strange here. I get why people were offended by even the number 40,000. If it would have been just give what you can, right? And I think if you are a brilliant faith leader like Marvin Sapp is, I think you have to be thoughtful of that kind of language. Again, this was back in August, but I mean, Christ talks against greed. Christ talks against the, it's there's something.
But I'm a math girl, so to me, I feel like, okay, 20 times 2,000 equals 40,000. Like it's kind of like, remember, Clay, when we've had a conversation, I'm like, people feel better about getting you to your goal when you're 80% there. If you at 1% of your goal, people are like, well, shit, you got a long way to go. I don't know if you're going to make it. They can't see the finish line. They can't see that if I contribute to it, the 1% contribution is just as important as the 99% contribution. So for me, I didn't take it that way, because I just feel like, okay, well, some people might not think $20 is a big deal. They might think, well, I don't have 100, so I'm not going to give nothing. There are some people who will hear 20 and they'll say, I'm gonna give 100. There are some people who hear 20, but like, bitch, I ain't got it for you. I can give you 5. I can give you 5. And hopefully somebody will give you 85 or whatever the hell. So I just took it as a math problem. But I'm a math person. So, but I get it if you ain't got it, why you would have that why it would be off-putting to you.
And you know what it is, though? I think Marvin Sapp is probably getting a bad rap because, like, so frequently, who was the pastor in Brooklyn? Lamar Whitehead, who got robbed while he was preaching. Come to find out, he was cloaked in diamonds and jewels and Fendi. Yeah. Sadly, one incident gives it a bad rap for everybody. But I will say there is a conversation to be had about tithing and donations and money in churches, and I know people who have tithed, and they, what is it? Give 10% of your income, and they were struggling that week. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that. No, but I know other people.
I pay taxes, honey.
Right, exactly.
Did they have an income tax, state and local tax in the Bible?
Right.
That's my time.
So it hits some people a certain kind of way. Let's
Clay,
let's go to
can we also though just talk about the agency of people? Like, I have agency as a person to look at a person and say, that person is a millionaire. They drive a Bentley, Rolls Royce. I got a private yacht. Da, 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 da. But I'm still gonna come to his church and I'm gonna give him $20 if he asks me. That's my
Yeah.
agency to do. But different people appeal to different people for different reasons. Not everybody is looking for somebody to look broke. Some people are like, okay, you got it. I'm trying to get
No, I
in
get
like
it.
where you are. And I think that when you want to do the purity test and say, well, you're not supposed to be at church looking for somebody to tell you how to get rich. But I'm just saying, I think people have agency, and there are things that appeal to people. And whether you think that it's right that appeals to them or not, they're making that decision. And so I feel like a lot of times the conversation removes the agency from people and makes it seem like people are just victims and they're being preyed upon, when people
I
gravitate towards certain, aesthetics, that gravitate towards certain messages, and that's their choice.
It's very interesting. For the majority of people, it is their choice, I would say. But there are some people, I think, who are attached to certain religions and attached to a certain faith or a certain space, and it's not their choice.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can really hurt somebody in the name of God. You can
Absolutely,
really
you
hurt
can.
somebody in the name of their Bible. And if you convince somebody, and Marvin Sapp did not do this, but we've seen, remember the days of what were their names? Tammy Baker and Jim Baker. Like, we have seen people use their Bible to take people's income. So I think some people, in the name of God, if you are maybe, I don't know if the right word is vulnerable, but a bit more impressionable, there are some people where we've all had some folks that are a little bit too much deep into it, and you're like, you're doing all that. So I don't know. I think that in the name of faith can be, in some ways, it can take away people's agency, and that's where people get vulnerable.
Yes.
And people get concerned,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of questioning and eyebrow raising to prosperity gospel. Not saying Marvin Sapp is doing that, but the fact that he got so much backlash goes to show there's a conversation we got to have here.
Well, everybody get backlash for everything, Jay. You can stub your
That's
tongue
true.
and get backlash. But I'm not saying the church is above reproach. I'm just saying a lot of things are being conflated and a lot of things are being projected. And so if we're going to have a conversation about nuance and about the different layers, then we have to recognize that all of these different aspects, and not just come from the default position that something is sinister, that something is insidious, or somebody is preying on a person. And I think that you have to talk about the Black church differently than you talk about white evangelicals. I think too, when you talk about the cultish aspect of it, that doesn't necessarily, just because somebody is a mega church or they have prosperity gospel, that doesn't mean that that's the only people that could potentially engage in that. Sometimes your neighborhood church is the ones that's doing that as well. And so, I think that there's a lot of different perspectives. And I feel like sometimes people who feel at home and feel comfortable in these spaces that catch a lot of heat, they probably feel like, well, why are you coming for my pastor? Why are you coming for us? And I'm just trying to honor that perspective as well. But there are a lot of comments on YouTube saying that this is triggering. I literally said, I understand how it can be triggering. That was how I started. I started off saying that I understand it can be triggering, and that I hold space for that. If you don't know what hold space means, that means that I respect that opinion. I honor that opinion. I'm not judging that opinion. I said it's okay if that's how you feel. If it's triggering for you, I honor that. If it's not triggering for you, I honor that. I'm not saying trigger people are wrong. I'm not saying that people who weren't triggered are wrong. I'm saying that people have a right to their opinions. And I think that people have agency to decide what is right for them, whether that's small, big, rich, poor, whatever. I think that we all have the agency, and maybe we should just inject that part into the conversation just a little. I'm just asking this to have to be a little bit of the conversation.
Just a touch.
Just a touch.
All right, let's go to a couple calls here. Let's go to Alvin from Arizona, first-time caller. What's up, Alvin?
Hey, how you doing, Clay? How you doing?
Doing good. All right.
Hi.
Okay, well, I wanted to comment on the Marvin Sapp situation.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I see it is, if a pastor really believes in the mantra of we walk by faith and not by sight, why are you leaning on your constituents for money? I mean, because if you're walking by faith and trust that God will give you everything that you're asking for, why not lean into that? Why not lean into that? That's the only question I would have is we always lead with money. I've been in churches where they ask the $100 people to stand up, the $200 people, $300 people. So it's gotten out of hand to the point where I don't even look at church the same as I did when I was raised in the South. It is nowhere near the same. So I'm just looking at it from a standpoint, if you really believe in walking by faith, have faith that God will give you what you're asking for. Don't come to the people that really might not even have it. That's all. That's it.
That's a good point. Thank
you,
you,
guys.
Mr.
I love
Alvin.
what you guys
Appreciate
are doing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. We have tons of the phone lines lit up.
You gotta ask for money. Like, church ain't free, you know what I'm saying? But I think that the hierarchical thing, the calling out, I think that's tacky now. That's not unwelcome. I mean, that's not welcoming. I that's very off-putting. But again, there's their agency. That ain't maybe the place for you. Maybe just keep it moving. But I just don't know why I can't say I don't know. I get it. Like you said, church hurt. But I just, the same way I talk about any topic, maybe that particular situation past the church congregation ain't for you, but that don't mean that's how every place is. So I just don't know why it has to be lumped, like the umbrella now has to be that this is how it all is. That's how that place was.
Let's go over to Jackie from New York. What's up, Jackie?
Hi, Tracy. I'm Tracy. Oh, my God. I'm so tired. I'm sorry. Hi, Clay. And hi, Reecie. So here's the thing. This just happened to me Friday. We got a whole housing crisis. So we here in Syracuse. So we're no different. It's New York, but bad housing crisis. The church is going to assist us in doing what we do to gather the people to try to get them from being evicted. Got lawyers, whatever. So why is it? You know, they had a big gathering. And they started off with $100. It felt like a bidding process. Okay, all the deacons, we're going to need you to raise. And he basically said, whatever your position. So deacons, trustees, everybody had a different amount. And if you don't have it, we got you. So I said, well, thank God they got them. No, we got Cash App. We got the other, name the other one, Venmo, all of this. It just felt not only tacky, that's a good word for it, but know what the situation, like people are losing their jobs, and not because they want to, because they're being fired. People are being unhoused because they're tearing down the housing. So what the heck?
This whole auction, it would have been nice. Was not happening in response. Like, it wasn't like raising money for people. It was just, I lost, because I thought you were saying that they was trying to get people together to solve that. Is that not what was going on?
Yeah, I had come to the church to, because I had to sit through the service, because I had to, let them know that there's going to be an event that's happening at the church to let them know about the housing and that. So I had to sit through the service, and after the pastor preached, they let you know that, hey, it would have been nice to say, well, we need to keep the lights on, whatever, even though it's obvious, state the obvious. He said, we're going to start it up at $100.
Give me your final comment, because we have other callers. Go ahead, Miss Jackie. Appreciate you.
I just felt like they needed, and in response to what's happening today in today's times, I just think it was raised in a black church. We need to do better in terms of being more thoughtful. Yes, we need to have some money because of all these things, but that bidding process was a bit awkward.
Thank you for your call, Jackie. Appreciate you. Let's go to Kiki from Texas. Kiki says she's Marvin Sapp's cousin. Kiki?
Jesus. Yeah, we had a whole family group chat. Because Marvin Sapp is my second cousin. My family is very steeped in the church in Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, Detroit, Chicago, Indianapolis. I have family members that are married to Winans, like they're married into like the Winans family, like the gospel family.
Yeah.
So I have family that's been in the church. We've been in the church ever since we were enslaved. Like, we've created churches in Mississippi and all over. So I do have to say that somebody who is not part of the church, and I do fully respect anybody's religious beliefs, and I respect and love my family members. However, there's two conversations that need to be had, in my opinion. Number one, I think that because this particular viral video went out, churches are now, since the pandemic, being putting their church services online. And then also we have social media and everything like that. So I understand that people are like, well, Reecie was saying, well, this is how black churches have always done. But now we're in a digital age. So now people are recording these sermons and people have their cell phones. So it's like you could get away with things like that 30 years ago. But now people got to understand you will go viral. If you're up in your church, you know, telling people off, cussing people out, talking about inappropriate stuff, you're going to end up on a TikTok video. That's number one. So so maybe if you don't want that smoke, maybe you need to understand, like, oh, my God, I'm being recorded right now. I mean, I need to wait till we have another sermon without the cameras to talk about the church business. So that's number one. Number two, I also feel that there's a lot of financial mismanagement in churches, not just black churches, but in churches, period.
Absolutely.
So perhaps, you know, if you owe $40,000 to certain creditors, I'm just saying hypothetically, that maybe you need to not put some of your friends and family members on the payroll who ain't doing nothing all day. That's just my comment. I'm just saying, you know, I'm not trying to throw no shade, y'all.
Oh, you not? Oh, okay. That's what
that was saying. Shade, though. So, it was Christian shade. Christian shade.
That was churchy shade.
Church shade. Go ahead, Kiki. Final comment.
The light bulb. You know, they don't put your family and friends on the payroll when they're supposed to be the maintenance man and they're making like $80,000 a year and they can't even change a light bulb. So I'm just saying that we need to be more fiscal responsible in black churches because you never know when your parishioners are losing their jobs. And so it's good to have some money saved up when you need to do renovations, just like you would treat a business. A lot of times the churches are not treated like people treat a business. They're treating these churches as just like slush funds and just willy-nilly spending money in these renovations and these restaurants in your churches. Maybe you don't need a McDonald's inside your church. Maybe you can hold off on that a little bit. That's all I got to say, y'all.
Wait, Kiki, hold on 1 second. I mean,
okay.
Are you giving a critique of your cousin, or are you just saying at large?
I'm just, you know what? I'm not gonna make it personal. You know, and maybe, you know, and then also I like to say maybe you should have took that money when you did Diddy's birthday to put it in the church. I'm just saying, you know, just saying.
Okay. Kiki, we're gonna let you go. It's a family affair. One child grows up to be somebody who just loves to learn.
I don't follow Marvin Sapp close enough. Maybe that's the heathen in me. So I don't know all of his business.
I don't know Marvin Sapp.
I know never would have made it. That's Marvin Sapp, right? Never would have made it. Is that him?
I don't know. We have to get Teddy on. I don't know my gospel.
Child,
I listen to gospel.
We both heathens.
I listen to gospel before 1990. I'm still listening to James Cleveland.
I love my Clark.
Right. Okay, let's do a couple more calls and we'll head to a break. Annette from South Carolina. What's up, Annette? South Kakalaka. First time caller.
Hi.
Hey.
Well, for the record, I watched the entire sermon. So that particular Roland Martin played it last night, and it was definitely out of. If you look at the context after the sermon, that it is way off base. And then, additionally, he is not pastoring a mega church. He took over a church that had less than 200 members in Texas. And so his pastor was there. The pastor that he preceded came.
It was a conference.
And it was a conference. And the reason why he was telling them to close the door is because people was walking during the offering. If you go to church, you know that is a sacred hour. I mean, a lot of the critique is coming from people who don't go to church and they don't know church protocol. And then, in addition, he left the stage before the offering was even completed. It wasn't for him personally. It wasn't for his church. And it was for the body. It's like if I go to and let's say an accounting conference.
Yeah.
Okay. I know that there are fees associated with me going to conference, and normally I save to go to conference. I've been to white conferences, Christian conferences. I've been to black conferences. It's the same, and they white conferences.
And that we have tons of calls, and we have to go to a break. So close it out for us, Annette.
So I'm just saying that typically the people who are responding negatively, yes, you may have had one experience, but it's not everybody's experience. If you had a bad experience at Walmart, you probably still went to Walmart or you went to Kroger. If that church is not for you or that organization is not for you, then leave it alone.
Yeah, well said. Gotcha. Let's do one more call, then we'll head out. Who was waiting? Every line is lit. We should have did this earlier. I didn't know it'd be so fiery.
Right.
You know, sometimes I get to a story later, but when Marvin Sapp spoke out, I said, "Oh, let's chop it up." Let's go over to where are we? Let's go to Adrian from New Orleans, first time caller. What's up, Adrian?
Hi. How are you?
Hi, Adrian. What's going on? All right.
So years ago, Marvin Sapp had a concert here in New Orleans, and he sang some of his songs, and the concert was coming towards an end, and he began to try to hustle us the money, and people started walking out, and then he started singing the song that Reecie sang so beautifully, never would have made it. And then everybody was, oh, yeah, sing that song. He said, hey, look, I'm not singing that song. I asked you guys to come and put $100, or maybe it was $50 there. And I'm not singing the song until you get here and you put up that money. I have children to send to college. Ooh. This is what he said. So this is not his first time with the hustle, with the holy hustle. I believe that what he did on that night or day, closing those doors, that was kidnapping, and it was intentional.
Yeah.
Because
we have to go with a break, but I can't confirm this. I just want to say we're live on YouTube right now. I can't confirm any of this. I don't know if that's the case, but I don't agree with the language of kidnapping.
Kidnapping.
Erica Savage, broke that down. Yeah. But I've never been to a Marvin Sapp church. I think it's a larger conversation about church culture, and obviously the calls that we're getting, people have church hurt. They seriously do when it comes to money and finances and donations and tithing. There's some talk there. A lot of these churches are nonprofits, 501c3. They're not paying taxes. I mean, it's something, but I don't know a lot about Mr. Marvin Sapp, but I will say that I think that the viral moment of it, Larry is texting me, the viral moment of it comes on the heels of just so many things that we see in our churches that, and then there are some people, and it's so sad because one negative thing does not represent everybody, but even that one preacher who went viral recently, during the campaign, saying he couldn't vote for Kamala Harris because she's a woman. There's also a craving, Reecie, for people to want their churches to be like what it appeared it was when church was a refuge against Jim Crow, when church was a refuge against some of the horrors that you experience outside the church doors, when church was a place where folks were registering to vote at high numbers. And I'm not saying folks don't do that, but
a lot of churches do that.
A lot of churches do that, but just I think there is a craving. There's a craving before the era of mega churches as well. There's a craving for that, especially in our spaces. So I think it's a larger conversation and dialogue with what church means to people now, who feels accepted, who doesn't feel accepted. Don't even get me started. And this, I think, is an issue, is a separate issue, but the way that gay folks have been treated in church, black church, and who they are in the choir, but who they are, preacher, pastor, whatever, and they're being treated a certain kind of way. There's a lot of levels there. Social, money, economics, the business of it all. But hey, Christ is a business now. Christ is a business.
Yeah.
It is. And it costs money to preach the word.
Well, that is true. That's indisputable. But I will say, I hate to not all stuff, but I will say it seems like as a society we like to bless mess, because why is this going viral 8 months after the fact, or however long? It was in August.
That's odd. August. Who set that up?
So that's where I go back to the context, and I feel like sometimes We say we need to have a conversation, but the conversation is always around some mess. And the conversation is always kind of around affirming what our worst suspicions are, because this clip was clipped, was clipped and disseminated outside of the context of its existence, which, like I said, I honor that space if you feel like even in context it was inappropriate. But sometimes I just wish that if we really care about having conversations, that we have them continually. And to your credit, Clay, you absolutely do, because you have a segment called Church Talk, and you do bring faith leaders on here. You're not just about the mess. So I would challenge, if we're going to have these conversations, to have them outside of just bless and mess and the messy conversations, and have them when we're talking about the work that Dr. Frederick D. Haynes does, Frederick Haynes III does around Pastor Michael McBride, around Bishop Leah Daughtry, and so many others that do great work. But when they're out there, boots on the ground, doing their work, I'm not talking about the church fans, I'm talking about boots on the ground, that stuff doesn't go viral in the same way. What goes viral, though, is the flashiness. And then that's where we focus on that.
Church Talk was a great segment. It was a great, Dr. Obi Hendricks came on, and it didn't get a lot of traction.
Mm-hmm.
And I was honoring a whole hour, amazing faith leaders.
Yeah.
Some well-known, some not as well-known. But hey, but that's where we are, whether it's our politics, whether it's our religion, whether it is, our music, our art. It's bless the mess. And, so, yeah. But I did want to give some context to the Marvin Sapp story, let people know and realize that it is a larger conversation. It definitely is a larger conversation that's going to go on till the end of time. Let's head to a break. Do you want to stay on YouTube for a minute and chit chat?
Yeah, I'll stay and talk to people a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're heading to a break. Clay Kane Show. Be right back.
You're listening to the Clay Kane Show.
Okay, y'all. Let me see what up. I saw Larry pop in. Hey, Larry. Let's see. Oh, somebody said never would have paid it. Never would have paid it. Y'all don't know how trifling it would look me going to church talking about I ain't got $20. Now I don't know if I got $100, but I can give you 20. I ain't gonna argue over 20. Let's see. Paula Whitechair. I've seen many raise hell a free will offering at the end of the sermon. Sometimes there are agreements tied to the free will offering. Okay, interesting. Let's see. Holy Hustle took me out. Now, a concert. If I'm at a concert, honey, you done got my coin. Because I'm in the front and I paid for them seats. I ain't got an extra little offering on top of my ticket price. That's the offering. Hey, y'all. Let's see. They should be taxed. Y'all want them to be taxed. Child taxes is high. Okay. Do y'all watch Righteous Gemstones? Y'all probably don't watch it, huh? See, I watch Righteous Gemstones. I ain't got too much on the Black Church. Ooh, got Greenleaf. I love my little Black Church shows. Put your used gift cards in the plate. I will say I'm horrible at using gift cards unless it's tied to like a text message or something. Can't do it. Thank you, Clay says, subscribe to my channel, Black Women Views. If you're interested in watching Cory Booker, I don't know if he's still, I should check the feed, honey, if he's still on there. If you're willing, if you're interested, okay, they're still going. If you're interested in watching Cory Booker, then go to my channel, Black Women Views, watch it, and you can talk to, other people. You ain't got to see all the crazies on the other mainstream stuff. You can just talk on my stuff. Okay. Let's see. Righteous Gemstones. Okay, it looks like Clay's back. So I'll see y'all later. Bye.